Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on Clare. My name is Séamus Brady. I'm joined by Matthew Hurley, also known as the Gaelic Statsman, to jump into another full weekend review. Matthew, it's been a very busy weekend, hasn't it? I mean, we've had the second weekend of championship action. We've the Ulster quarterfinals, Leinster quarterfinals, the LGFA League finals. We have Camogie League finals, and we have, of course, the first round of the Christy Nicky, Rackard, and Lory running through them in that order. We've lots of comments flooding in, guys. Love to see it. If you are new onto this channel here, the ticker at the bottom will tell you how it works. Throw in your comments, get your opinions in on how the weekend went. Matthew, good to have you back on. Thanks for jumping on for another episode. How are you keeping? Another busy weekend in the books.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Séamus. And I suppose I was in a situation where I watched most of the games this weekend. I watched all the televised games anyway. Kildare, Westmeath, Antrim, and Armagh. Was on BBC Northern Ireland, of course, and the Tyrone game today, and of course the Camogie and LGFA finals that were happening this weekend as well. So yeah, I'm well up to date and looking forward to getting in to discussion with you this evening as well. And in terms of the football as well, in terms of Sam Maguire and Tailteann Cup as well, if Mayo beat Leitrim and if Down beat Fermanagh next week, then the Sam Maguire placings are all decided, except for obviously that Kildare Low game, which is huge in Leinster to decide that last spot in terms of Sam Maguire. And I don't think we've been in that situation since the Tailteann Cup has come in, that we know before the last week, before the provincials actually finished before the final stage, that all the Sam Maguire placings would have been decided by then. So kind of an unusual set of affairs there. But yeah, glad to jump on and looking forward to getting into it.
Certainly. Well, a massive shout out to Brian O'Riordan and to Gavin O'Reilly sending in quite a few comments. Brian's comments here comments are all about the Dublin game, which we will come to after the Ulster, so I will keep them for them. Gavin O'Reilly is talking about the first game that we're going to talk about here, which is, of course, how impressive Tyrone looked. And Gavin himself here says, Cavan were really poor in that game. Too easy to open the wides, and decision-making were really bad too. Hopefully, with a bit of rest, a nice group, Lynch back, and better decision-making, Cavan can get out of a group that they end up in. So that takes us on nicely to the first game that we're going to discuss. The Ulster Senior Football Championship quarterfinal, Tyrone 21. No, that scoreline is completely wrong. So I'm going to do this game first. Antrim 123, Armagh 134 in Corrigan Park. There was a lot of talk coming into this game. Obviously, the Corrigan Park are nowhere effect. Antrim did get their way. They stood their ground. We did anticipate that they would give Armagh a serious rattle, which they did, but Armagh ultimately came out on top with an 11-point victory. The All-Ireland champions are up and running in 2025.
Yeah, and to be fair, you have to credit both the favourites and the underdog in this game. Antrim were ahead at half-time in this one by a point. And to be honest, it could have been more if Cavan Keelan's penalty went in. And might I say as well, Blaine Hughes is an excellent goalkeeper, but Séamus, he's off the line. He is off the line there. And I think Armagh got away with one there in terms of that. But you have to give Armagh credit considering their second half performance. And considering as well, I was doing stats of the game, obviously. Armagh had 37 shots. That's a high, that's a high number. They converted 30 of those. 81% shot accuracy. That's superb. That's really, really good. And to be fair, Antrim missed a few shots there with 54% shot accuracy. But one player in particular, Paddy McBride, and he was one of the players that stood up in terms of getting the game into Corrigan Park. And it was probably fitting that he had probably the best performance out of anybody on the Antrim team. He got 3 2-pointers, 9 points overall, 1 point from a free as well. So that's 8 points from play. Really good display from him. And he's been one of the main players for Antrim over the last few seasons. Dominic McInnes. I know Ryan McQuillan showed some bright sparks as well and got his goal towards the end. But from an Armagh point of view, had a lot of different scores. Looking down the list here, I think it's about 6, 9, 12. That's 13 different scores. I think it's 13 or 14, which is absolutely brilliant from an Armagh point of view. And that would be good in terms of getting players ready for the incoming championship. This is an Armagh team that had Aidan Farker that didn't start. Rian O'Neill wasn't in the squad. Soupy Campbell did start in this game, which is probably unusual considering he usually comes on as a substitute. You had players like Callum O'Neill starting in one of his first games for Armagh. I think his first championship start anyway, gets 4 points from play. That's encouraging from an Armagh point of view as well. Tomas McCormack on his championship debut 1-1. The goal he took as well was absolutely brilliant from the cornerback. Ross McQuillan showed some bright sparks from wing back. Oisin O'Neill obviously kind of changed the game when he came on from Armagh's standpoint. 6 points, all 2-pointers. And then you had Ethan Rafferty did well in the outfield position, you have to say. When Blaine Hughes went into goal, he did well in the full forward line. And maybe Armagh fans might be questioning, should we have Blaine Hughes in goal and should we have Ethan Rafferty out the field? Because it kind of worked for them now yesterday. Obviously, Tyrone will offer a bigger test in the semi-final. There's no doubts. But that was an encouraging display from Armagh's viewpoint, and it really, really was. And Antrim, you have to give them a lot of credit too. They got stuck into Armagh right from the very off. They made it very difficult for them, as we thought they would, given the whole Cork Park shenanigans that went on in the lead up to this game. But in terms of the game itself, it was a good game of football. I really did enjoy it. Bit annoying really from the BBC. I don't know, did you watch it on the BBC this game? But afterwards, the pundits and the presenter were actually asking, is there too many scores in Gaelic football? Is it becoming wide open? Is it becoming too wide open? But I'm like, we're going back to this discussion again. Which would you rather? And Pat Spillan's quotes as well. What sort of game do we want? Do we want fellas parked in front of their own half and then make it a dour game, as dour as possible, or do you want a high-scoring game like that? Yes, Armagh broke records in scoring 134 in the Ulster Championship, and it is simplistic really under these new rules. But I love this style of football because it gives forwards like Paddy McBride, like Oisin O'Neill, like Ryan McQuillan a chance to flourish under these. And yeah, as I've learned of these new rules, it actually, a lot of people were saying the underdog will suffer under these new rules. You looked at Antrim in this game against Armagh. I know we'll get on to Dublin in a bit, but Wicklow really competed with Dublin as well. So maybe the new rules actually suit the underdog a small bit because they can get they're brilliant shooters and get them to get 2-pointers for them. Antrim got Paddy McBride, for example. Wicklow would have had the likes of Kevin Quinn and Podge O'Toole. Look, I think it is genuinely a good thing for the underdog that they could get these players into pockets and then they could shoot from long range, and it suits them to a T as well. So there is an argument maybe to say that the new rules actually kind of suit the underdog more than they have in previous seasons.
Yeah, so I think, me personally, I still think we're going to see the ugly side of it at some stage. I would look to maybe the Connacht Championship in Leitrim's next game. I think that one against Mayo could be pretty bad. But apart from that, I mean, we've seen examples where Dublin-Wicklow, people thought that this one would be pretty rough. And Wicklow definitely walked out of that game with their heads held high. And Antrim and Armagh, again, maybe Armagh would have won it by maybe a similar margin with the old rules. But with the new rules, it seemed like it would make a real beatdown, much more likely prospect. Didn't really come to pass. And again, Antrim can leave with their heads held high. NIRB here says, Antrim unlucky in the second half. Good to see clubmen Ryan Murray and Mark Jordan play. I think this result could mean a change in Antrim football. Hopefully they draw a beatable team next year like Fermanagh. I think that is, if you look over the last few years, Antrim have been unlucky in who they have tended to draw in the first round. It's tended to be someone who is on an upward trajectory or someone who's at the top of their game. Like, they've never got a game really where I thought it could be winnable. And I don't mean that in any sort of a way of a disrespect to anyone. I just mean that Antrim always have good games against Fermanagh, and it tends to be pretty 50-50. And I think that's probably the team that is closest to their level. Like, I mean, speaking in terms of the league, it is the team that is closest to their level. So that's the one that they would have the best chance of winning. Also, we are going to move on then back to the Tyrone game. So Armagh, very, very impressive. I'll give a massive shout out as well to Oisin O'Neill, who came off the bench and finished the game with 3 scores from outside the arc, 6 points then in total for him. Outrageous and seriously, seriously impressive performance by Armagh to kick off the championship. 134 is definitely a very, very impressive scoreline. Garrod Odo, Grachan, Jer Gregan back on the show. Good to have you back, Jer. He said good performance by Antrim, but it was far from Armagh's first team that were out, and it was a comprehensive win for a finish. We are going to move on then to the other Ulster quarterfinal, and the team that Armagh will play in the Ulster semi-final is Tyrone. Tyrone won 24, Cavan 20 points at Healy Park in Omagh. I felt like this game went through phases, Matthew. I felt like Tyrone were pretty dominant at halftime. Cavan had been left with a bit of a mountain to climb. Cavan started to slowly creep back into it, where you were thinking, if they get a goal here, there was a debatable maybe penalty call. I'm not saying that it was, but I'm saying I've seen worse penalties given. Like, I've seen more doubtful fouls given. It didn't go Cavan's way in that situation. And then only a couple of minutes later, Con Kilpatrick buries it into the back of the net for Tyrone. And when he did that, it was curtains. You knew it was done at that point. So the game could have turned on a dime. But that is not taking away from just how impressive Tyrone looked in this game. Tyrone looked superb in this game. And especially the form of players like Kieran Meagher, who looks like he's flying back to his best. Darren McCurry inside looked absolutely on top form. Tyrone looked like a problem for anybody that they face right now.
And add to that, Séamus, over the last few games, like four games now for Tyrone, no defeats. And arguably the game against Galway, the first game of that kind of run, they should have won that game as well, drawing 118 apiece. They beat Donegal, they beat Dublin, and now they beat, I wouldn't say a Cavan team that are Division 1 standards, but they were pretty close to it. Like, if their point went over against Cork in the last minute on the Hooter, they would have been considered a Division 1 team, and they aren't no slouch as Cavan. So that is a brilliant performance from a Tyrone point of view. And may I add as well, Darragh Canavan was out before Tyrone due to an injury as well. And I will not lie, Séamus, when that news was said by Joanne, I think it was during the Camogie coverage beforehand, I was like, oh, this is big. Could Cavan cause a shock here? But like, Darren McCurry really stood up, didn't he? Kieran Meagher, excellent. Rory Canavan really I know he didn't score any for play today, but he really converted his frees very well. How Con Kilpatrick and Brian Kennedy were dominant in the middle of the field. Niall Morgan, as good as ever in goals. Michael McKernan was good from an offensive point of view. Still question marks about it defensively, but that will come in time. I'm guessing Peter Hart looked as solid as ever in at full forward as well, and he seems to be bedding into that position of full forward. Aidan Donaghy, I didn't know much about it before going to Tyrone, but I thought he was very good as well, very, very solid from a Tyrone point of view. And yeah, like, you look at stats as well, 33 shots from a Tyrone point of view, 25 converted, 75% shot accuracy. I talked about Armagh earlier with 81%. This is scary. And I think if those stats are to be replicated for the All-Ireland Ulster semi-final, it is going to be an absolutely brilliant game of football, and I cannot wait. I'd imagine this game is going to be on Clonus. Obviously, we'll have to look at confirmation for that, but it's going to be a mouth-watering game, obviously. And then from a Cavan point of view, I honestly, yes, they made a bit of a fight back in the second half, but I think they kind of lost this game in the first half when, like, Dario O'Rourke obviously did well at stages in the league, but the kick-out strategy in the first half from Cavan, I couldn't put my finger on it. What on earth was going on there? He was kicking it out the same side each and every time, and they kept losing valuable kickouts. I think they kicked it out to the left-hand side. I think it was once in the first half, and ironically, they won that kickout. So you were thinking, why don't you kick it? I know Niall Morgan was down there, and he didn't want to put it down onto the bread basket of him because he's an expert at catching the ball around in the middle of the park. But maybe even try that if things aren't working out. And then when Cavan tried to go short, Tyrone were pushing up on them, and it was just, it was a bit of a mess from that situation from Cavan in the first half, and especially with them against the wind and the way the weather transpired in the first half, it kind of derailed them a small bit moving into the second half. But then again, you have to give them a lot of credit for their second half display. Darren McVitie was taking very good 2-pointers. Cian Madden took one as well, and Oisín Kieran took a very good one. And they were really getting into good pockets and positions to get scores. And they were 6 or 7 points in at one stage. But as you mentioned there, once Con Kilpatrick's goal, and I think it was a 4-point turnaround if memory serves, or even a 5-point turnaround if memory serves correctly, because I think Sean McAvoy was going for a 2-point effort for Cavan, and it dropped short. Niall Morgan actually caught the ball from under the bar. Straight away down the other end, Con Kilpatrick goals it, and you're thinking, that's just, it's terrible from a Cavan point of view, but it was almost, as you said there, it was curtains at that point, and there was no point in thinking about coming back from a Cavan point of view after that. But you have to give a lot of credit to Tyrone. They look really, really serious. They look in brilliant form at the moment. Meagher Rourke, it took a while for him to bed his system in. After the Armagh game, especially in round 2 of the league, they looked really much outplayed. But then against Mayo and Kerry, they were very, very unlucky. But ever since then, 4-game unbeaten run. You can't ask for much more than that. It's a brilliant run at the moment. And that Armagh game in the semi-final looks absolutely mouth-watering.
Certainly. And then I think also, what you say, 75% shot accuracy for Tyrone, 81% shot accuracy for Armagh. Like, when you're looking at the history of the Tyrone and Armagh fixtures in the 2000s and the epics that we've seen, you know, with the Ulster finals being played in Croke Park, etc., and, you know, the battles between Stevie McDonald down one end, Stephen O'Neill, Peter Canavan, Mulligan down the other end, Ronan Clark, like Kieran McGeeney, iconic figures like that out on the pitch. And the fact that it came around because Armagh won the All-Ireland in 2002 and then Tyrone went and did it the very next year. Now, I'm not saying that Tyrone are going to sweep to the All-Ireland now just because Armagh won it. But what I am saying is Tyrone won an All-Ireland in 2021 and there's a strong core of that team still around. So what we have is two supremely good, supremely talented Tyrone and Armagh teams that, as you were saying, Tyrone 75% shot accuracy against Cavan, Armagh 81% shot accuracy against Antrim. They're both in tip-top form heading into an Ulster clash against each other, where we're going to get to see these new rules being played in a fixture between Tyrone and Armagh for the first time in championship football. I am buzzing for that game, and I wouldn't dare call right now who I think is going to win, because whatever way I predict, God knows what way it will actually turn out. So that will be a cracker. Yeah, God knows. We've a couple of comments flying in here. Jer says Tyrone could sue the league for defamation. 7 points in Division 1 is a good league. I won't comment on Tyrone's prospects because I always end up with egg on my face when I predict Tyrone. Certainly, that's the name of the game. There's a few counties that certainly get like that. Gavin has a random question, and that's of his own volition. I'll throw this one to you, Matthew. He says, random question, lads. Thoughts on Galway's underage, considering they won minor in 2022. Under 20s haven't really kicked on since. 4th in the Connacht League at the moment and don't look like qualifying out.
Maybe it's just a rut from a Galway point of view, because I think this is the first year, if memory serves me correctly, that Galway are struggling at under 20 level. They've looked very, very, if they've got at least to the kind of final in recent seasons, and maybe this is just a blip. I don't think it's like other counties where underage is clearly brushed under the carpet a small bit. Like, it is the kind of, I know it's ironic saying this because Armagh won the All-Ireland last year, but underage in Armagh hasn't been up to tip-top shape. Cork at the moment is in probably the worst state it's ever been in football. So I think those counties are in the worst state at the moment than Galway are. If I was a Galway fan, I wouldn't be worried about their under-20s at the moment. Maybe it's just a bad run of form at the moment. They'll get out of it. And they always do an underage. They always have good underage system in Galway. It's when the same problems start to reappear year after year after year, like it does in Armagh underage level, like it does at Cork. That's when you start to get worried. If it's just a blip, they'll go again next year.
Yeah, no, well said. Cormac Nugent makes a great point here about the Tyrone game. He says, good to see McShane getting a run out. I mean, remember how crucial McShane was to the 2021 All-Ireland success. If McShane can get back to what he was in the 2019 season, for example, when he won the All-Star full forward, by God, they've some weapon there. And I would be interested, Cormac, by any chance, if you're a Tyrone fan, this would be much better to hear what a Tyrone fan wants as the forward line. Because the one thing that I always find is, I feel like Tyrone have, like, for every player, they almost have like a clone of that player. Like, they've got Mark Bradley and Darren McCurry, who are both, you know, lightning quick, brilliant left foots, superbly accurate, and they both can almost do the same role as each other. Then they've got players like, for example, when they had Myler, McGeary, Peter Hart, who are very industrial, who can move around the pitch. Matty Donnelly fits into that bracket as well. Just be very interested what would be the 6 forwards you could go with, because what McShane brings is the physical size and the power that he could bring in around the square there. And when Tyrone have to, you know, throw Con Kilpatrick in there, McShane could do that job and you could keep Kilpatrick around the middle. So his form adding that, element that Conor McKenna added before he went back to Australia, like that would be a massive boost to Tyrone. Brian O'Riordan also says, I would have to say Armagh will just nick this game. It's setting up nicely. Certainly is. Now we're going to move from Ulster to the Leinster Championship, and I'm going to start off with the Dublin versus Wicklow game, which took place in Auckland, because the majority of the comments that are in are about this game. So it was Wicklow 18 points, Dublin 2-21 in Auckland. Everybody expected this game to be a complete and utter walkover for Dublin. Wicklow die with their boots on in this. They really, really took a swing at the Dubs, and they can hold their heads high, no doubt about it. The comments that are in, mainly from Brian O'Riordan, who of course is a proud Dub. Brian's saying here, he says, very sluggish performance overall from Dublin. Conor Callaghan was magnificent with 1-7, showed great leadership. Top mention to Brian Howard, who is excellent. Kieran Kilkenny led the forward line, pulled the strings. Peadar O'Cofaigh-Byrne and Tom Lahiff put strong performances in the middle. 4 players made the debut. Cluxton sat out to injury. He should be back the next day. Hope to see Lee Gannon and Owen Merchant back. Great to see Paddy Small come on. Wicklow put in a brave and spirited performance, fought really hard and never gave up. Plenty of positives for them, including Mark Jackson's kickouts were pinpoint. Dean Healy, Ushie McGrain and Kevin Quinn. Sean, he says, Dublin have a lot of work to do. Never got to the pitch of it and lacked intensity. Matthew, what have you made of this game, Dublin against Wicklow?
It's hard to know. I'm basically Séamus because it wasn't shown live.
It wasn't shown.
It wasn't shown. So I'm going off Brian's comments there and Scorpio, which I have in front of me. That's literally all I'm going off. But at halftime, this scoreline was 11 points to 2-9. Dublin were only leading by 4 at the break. And even fast forward to 70 minutes according to Scorpio when Podge O'Toole got his point, it was 2-19 to 18 points, 7 points in it. Like, and then Conor Callaghan gets a late 2-pointer to kind of spread the score a bit after that. But first of all, and I think you have to start with this, you have to give a lot of credit to Wicklow. A lot of people in podcasts, including yourself and myself, on our show, we were saying during the week, the only question would be how many would be at the ground and things like that. It's out of them.
The ground was sold out. The Dubs fans are having it hard to buy tickets for that game. But yeah, it was a question of how much would Dublin win by. And still, the crazy thing is, have a go at me if you want. It's still a 9-point win. Like,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, like, that is kind of the scoreline that we would have expected with the old rules. I think with the new rules, the allowance for how bad it could get definitely has gone up.
The thing is, though, Séamus, even under the old rules, I think there was a period in the 6 in a row team that the only team to get within a single-digit margin of Dublin was Kildare in 2017 or some stat like that.
Before 2021 when we lost.
When you lost, yeah. So like, was it expected that even under the old rules that you'd beat Wicklow, a team, with the greatest respect, obviously, a Wicklow team that are in Division 4 at the moment that failed to get out of Division 4, that were taken the extra time by Longford the previous week?
Yeah.
Was there an argument that you were expected to win by double digits? Anyway, obviously, that's not that's a credit to Wicklow for how close they got it. And you have to obviously give a lot of credit to Oisin McConville, who obviously didn't watch the game, but what it seemed like, Oisin McConville set his team up really, really well, and they gave everything to try and beat Dublin in this game. And you have to give him a lot of kudos for that, in fairness. Oisin McGrainer, by the looks of the scores anyway, and what Brian was saying there, seemed to have an excellent game. And he has been a probably promising footballer in that Wicklow team for a long time now. Kevin Quinn with 3 points in this game. Dean Healy was brilliant in midfield by the looks of reports. Even like Owen Darcy actually only came on didn't come on as a sub, which was very, very surprising considering his high ceiling in Wicklow football. But yeah, it was kind of a weird one to kind of judge. Like, I'll throw this one to you, Séamus. Would you be worried as a Dublin fan looking at that scoreline, or would you just say that, well done to Wicklow, brilliant performance, we'll move on to the next game?
Yeah, the latter, for sure. The thing that this is giving me the vibes of, and I could be off, but it's giving me the vibes of, do you remember we played Carlow in the championship in 2017? And Turlock, O'Brien and Stephen Poacher had just come in. It was kind of the initial beginnings of that Carlow rising period where they did great things under Turlock and Stephen. Got out of Division 4, made it to the Leinster semi-final, beat Kildare in 2018, which had a ripple across the country. But they played Dublin in 2017 and they lost, but they had some really, really good moments. Like I remember Brendan Murphy, Dara Foley all kicked, Paul Broderick all kicked amazing scores, and there was a while where they were really putting it up to Dublin. And I feel like this game, because I haven't seen it yet because it wasn't available to watch, it's giving me the vibes of that Wicklow went down with the boots on, and as Brian is saying there, like it seemed like Dublin were struggling for periods but ultimately pulled away. So Brian says it's no win for Dublin. Massive credit to Wicklow, who are brilliant and died with their boots on. And Gavin also says questions about Dublin's defence and Meath's improvement. The semi in a neutral venue could be tasty between the two old rivals, which brings me along nicely, Gavin. Thank you very much. Meath 125, Offaly 21 points in Park Talton. Now, Meath found themselves in a horrible position at half-time. Offaly were miles clear, but one thing that the new rules is showing is it doesn't matter how far ahead you are never really safe. Meath reined Offaly back in and had the day, and they're into the Leinster semi-final where they will play the Dubs. What did you make of Meath in this one?
Again, wasn't shown, so I'm going off Scorpio in this one, but to score 120 in the second half from a Meath point of view, and especially given the context behind it, John Morris was out through injury. The stuff that went on in the backroom with the backroom team with Martin Corey and Joe McMahon leaving early doors, you have to give all the credit here to Meath. In previous seasons, this would be a county that would kind of fold under the pressure and they would say, look, we're getting hammered here, 15 points to 5 at half time. It's just not our day. And
it's a very similar position to the game a couple of years ago. Do you remember where Offaly were like 11 points to 2 up at half time against them?
And the difference is, from a Meath point of view, is they have a backbone. Mm-hmm. And you have to, that credit all has to go to Robbie Brennan over this. Because he's given the belief to these Meath players that they can compete and they can produce some very good football in doing that. But let's not lose sight of this. In the 70th minute, Paddy Donegan got a 2-pointed free to make it 23 points to 21. There was 2 points in it. Then James Conlon strikes the goal to seal the game. And then there was a 2-pointer at the end through a Billy Hogan free from Meath. This was close right at the... Yes, Meath, it was a brilliant comeback, but Offaly, they came back flying at Meath even after Meath pulling it back in this game. Like, I think it was, I'm looking at Offaly's last goal. Like, Paddy Donegan scored a 2-pointed free on 50 minutes to make it 19 points to 13. And then Offaly didn't score for 20 minutes. And Meath scored, I think it was 10 points without reply. Mm-hmm. That was the deciding of the game. Like Aaron Lynch got a point, Owen Frayne. There was 2-pointers actually in the 51st and 53rd minute from 2 frees actually from Owen Frayne and Matthew Costello. Crucial scores to get me back in there. And then you had James Conlon getting a point, Jack Flynn getting a 2-point. That's 3 2-pointers in that 10 points without reply. And then obviously Jack Flynn's 2-pointer actually gave me the lead, 21 points to 19 at 63 minutes. Then there was obviously Costello and Conlon to make it 23-19. Donegan gets the free for a 2-pointer, and you think, okay, brilliant comeback by me, but can they sustain this and move on to the very end? And then Connolly gets the goal. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And it was a brilliant, brilliant performance by me, but it looks at things. Credit has to go for them for the comeback. And what Gavin was saying there about Meath and Dublin this time around, I'd be much more positive if I was a Meath fan going into this game now, because a few reasons. Number one, they have a backbone. And they proved it today, and they proved it throughout the league campaign. Number two, they have a lot of good scores, even without Morris. Matthew Costello's come back into the team. Owen Frayne's been in brilliant form. Conlon getting that goal will give him the world of confidence, given he's been probably a very exciting young player coming through at Meath for a few seasons now. This might be the season where he gains a bit of consistency from his inter-county season or inter-county career. And as well as that, they finished high in the league. They could have easily gone up, but for kind of a blunder against Louth on the last day. So I give Meath every chance of overcoming Dublin in this game. And the big reason, as Gavin rightly mentioned there, neutral venue. Where that is, I'm not sure where it is. Will it be Tullamore? Will it be Portlaoise? But wherever it is, I think Meath would massively give Dublin a big game in this game. And I think it's 2 weeks' time this Leinster semi-final is. So, lot to look forward to now. I don't think it will be a situation where Meath will roll over like they did in Croke Park last year, which is a positive.
Oh, well, I stood by this. Like last year, I was there for the Dublin Meath game. Meath showed up last year to get their ass whooped and go home. There was never a hint. There was never an expectation. There was never even a whisper that Meath could beat Dublin. It was all, when are Dublin going to bring the hammer down? When are Dublin going to get the goal? When are Dublin going to pull away and be 5, 6, 7 points clear? Everyone in the stadium knew what way the game was going to go. But this year, Meath have shown something a little bit different. A comment in here from our good friend Liam White. He says, only just after tuning in now, hopefully Masters, obviously Shane Lowy, Offaly's boy. Hopefully Masters turns out better than our result today. But still proud of the lads. Only go to the Tolchin Cup. Credit to Wicklow too for giving it a shot earlier against the Dubs. Our brother from Mexico has commented in again, Zul. He says, great GA weekend and the best GA channel. Greetings from Mexico. Thank you so much, my man. Thanks for being back on the show. Brian says here about the Dublin Meath game. He says it's likely to be Portlaoise April 27th, and also says brilliant performance from Meath. 120 in the second half is massively impressive. It certainly is. Matthew, can Meath beat Dublin this year?
You hope they could. To shake up Leinster a small bit.
The competitiveness of the competition, you would hope that they could.
But I don't want to rain in Meath parade because they have been so positive about them. But haven't we seen this story before, Séamus? Remember 2020? Remember 2020 where there was hope about Meath. They were in Division 1. They tested everybody in that particular division. They were going into a game behind closed doors. There was no atmosphere from the hill in that time. And you were thinking, okay, it's a weird time. COVID's a weird world now. Could Meath challenge Dublin? And then Dublin scored 3 goals in the first half, and that was good night. I hope that doesn't happen. That's true. That is true.
Benton was there. James McCarthy was there. Dean Rock was there. Like, we had a lot of big players in that team who aren't around anymore. Mick Fitzsimons was there. Like, players like that you just quietly, they slip out the door and all of a sudden you're looking at the team and, well, obviously Fenton and McCarthy didn't quietly slip out the door, but like a lot of good players aren't quite around the panel anymore. Even players like Eric Lowndes and all, who was just such a solid utility man who could just do a job in any position of the pitch, we're short a few of them. I actually think Meath can beat Dublin. I don't think they will, but I think that there is a timeline where Meath do. I think a lot has to go right for them on the day. I think that a lot has to fall for them. And I think the fact that it's in a neutral ground is a big help to them. But if they can, that will be the story of the weekend. I don't think they will. I think they're underdogs. I think Dublin will prevail. But I think the gap is closing. The gap was much, much wider 3 years ago. It was much wider. Meath weren't even on Dublin's radar 3 years ago. We were focusing on Louth. Louth were the problem. Louth were the coming force. Meath now are inserting themselves as being something that Dublin should worry about in the Leinster Championship because of the success that Meath have had against Dublin in the under-20 level, in the minor level, beating Dublin quite consistently over the last 2 years. And if enough of them lads come through and they've never really feared Dublin, there will be a day. But I don't think it's going to be this year. But I don't think it's as far away as he once might have thought it was. Brian says the idea is outside Croke Park will give me the big chance. I said the idea of it being a neutral venue is a massive help to me. Yeah, I think that gives them massive help, but I still don't think it's going to be their day. Liam White says a big positive from us is Keith O'Neill, a super player worth paying the money to watch. Keith O'Neill is one of my favourite players in the game right now. Proper box office player that you would pay money in to watch. So we're switching it over then to the other side of the draw. Kildare beat Westmeath by 2 goals and 17 points to 21 points at St. Conleth's Park in Newbridge. Also, Louth beat Laois in the same venue, 216 to 17 points. So Louth will play Kildare in that semi-final. What did you make of both of their respective wins? and how a potential matchup between the two of them looks now down the line?
First of all, from a Kildare point of view, it's a massive win for confidence. Like when you look at Kildare over the last few seasons, they've battered teams which they should be battering, if that makes sense, like the likes of Longford, Waterford, Leitrim in the Tailteann Cup, a lot of teams in Division 3. Then when they came across some stumbling block, like a Louth, like a Laois, like a Clare, like an Offaly, they failed each and every time. That was a big win for confidence last night. And it looked like Westmeath were much ahead of them at half time. I did watch this game on GA+. And to be honest, the pendulum kind of swung on a few events. Number one, Ray Cannella going off injured. That was a massive blow to Westmeath. And I think I put up a tweet as well about the kick-out stats. I think in the first half, Westmeath won 75% of their own kick-outs. Kildare won under 50% of theirs. The second half, Kildare win over 70% of their own kick-outs, and Westmeath lose under 50% of theirs in that time frame. It was a massive event for Ryan Ray Cannella to go off, and Kevin Feely excelled from then on. And Kildare, there was kind of no stopping him from that point. But another event as well, the David Hyland goal did very well, obviously, to touch it past Conor McCormack, the way he did to kind of swivel to palm it to the back of the net. But I do think there was a bit of luck involved. The Kildare player, off the top of my head, I'm actually not sure who it was, if memory serves correctly, but the ball dropped short. It was a long dropping ball. Two of Kildare's goals actually came from long balls into the box.
Yeah.
Which, it was ironic. Kildare were shooting from kind of ridiculous kind of distances in the first half, and their shooting accuracy was down. The one time they found a player inside the box, in this case Alex Byrne, in the first half, they got a goal off it. And they did this, well, obviously it was unintentional in the second half, but they got a goal through David Hyland as well. You'd be thinking, if Kildare do that much more in the Leinster semi-final, they could be a serious team, really. And a lot of them players performed very well from a Kildare point of view. Ben McCormack got 2 points. Ryan Sinky, young player as he is, scored 2 points as well. Brian McLaughlin got a nice 2-pointer in the first half, but didn't offer much after that, which is quite concerning. Kieran only got 1 point, which it wasn't his night, clearly, and you could say he has more in the tank, but that is it. But you know, he is capable of a decent display. It just wasn't last night. But before I get on to Louth, Luke Loughlin, what a display from him. 90% shot accuracy, 10 shots overall, 9 converters, 11 points overall. Well, 2 2-pointers. He's been absolutely excellent in the league in the absence of Ronan O'Toole and John Hazelin, and he's just carried on to this form for Westmeath. Very good display from them, from Luke Loughlin. Danny McCartan showed some bright spells in the first half. Obviously, Ray Clem did as well, and they were dominating midfield. And until he went off, obviously, and that was a big blow for Westmeath. But is it quite concerning? I know there's a lot of positives about Westmeath, Luke Loughlin, Ray Cannella, the way they're performing at the moment. There are positives in terms of their goal scoring, but defensively they seem a bit on edge still. And since after the Division 3 final win against Down, they haven't won a game. I think they've lost nearly every game. They've drawn 1 game to Roscommon as well, and that's it. So that would be quite concerning from a Westmeath point of view, I would say. And yeah, look, they'll have to fix that sooner rather than later if they are to do well in the Tailteann. I imagine they will do well in the Tailteann Cup. They have to give a bit of confidence, and they're well capable of winning it again if they get it.
I'd put them one of the front runners to win it again.
Yeah, I would as well. I just think they need a win, and I think that would be pretty easy considering like the teams in the Tailteann Cup to gain a bit of confidence to go on and run for a bit, because in that run, other than Wicklow, all the opposition that they faced have been higher level opposition, either Division 2 or good teams in the All-Ireland series last year. So maybe you would be too worried from a Westmeath point of view, but they probably need a win sooner rather than later to gain some good performances in the Tailteann Cup. As for Louth, they were behind at half time against Laois, and I thought, could Laois cause a shock here? But then 2 goals in the second half from Ryan Burns and Kieran Byrne just kind of got Louth out of jail, really. And they are dogged, I will say that. They aren't hitting the top gears as they were last year, which is quite concerning, I'd imagine, for Ger Brennan and his team. Sam Roy wasn't there again, which is a positive, and they still scored. Well, 216 under the new rules is still a bit low, wasn't it, really? But look, they're into a semi-final against Kildare. Massive game now. Whoever wins that now is in the Meagher Cup, and neither team can have any complaints if they lose. It's in their own hands. Whoever wins it will be in the Sam Maguire Cup. But for Kildare, I think that's a massive confidence booster. Whatever way they won it, they won a game against a higher level opposition. That's a positive for Brian Flanagan and his team.
Certainly, and it's against a team that was competitive and in the mix in every single game that they played in Division 2 and then drew with Roscommon, who got promoted from the division. And I know that GA math doesn't always add up, but it tells Kildare that they are moving in the right direction for sure. And it was a brilliant win to have in St. Connacht's Park in Newbridge. They're heading in the right direction. There's no question about it in my mind. And in Brian Flanagan, they have the right man at the wheel. Brian O'Riordan says a massive, massive win for Kildare. It was a must win, a brilliant game. Westmeath will take a lot of positives too. But he also says about the dubs, Dublin lost a lot of players with All-Ireland winners medals. They still have All-Ireland winners in the panel. It will be 15 in a row in Leinster. I do agree. And Liam also says you'd have to feel sorry for Luke Loughlin because he played like an all-star. He certainly did. And then according to Scorbio, he went and did the High Rocks the next day. I mean, the man's an animal. So, fair play to him. I'm leaning right now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually am leaning towards Kildare to Pip out in that semi-final. And I'm not saying that in any sort of a way to, throw shade at Kildare. I'm saying it more in a way that Louth aren't quite at the level as well that I thought that they might be this year. They had a great win against me on that final day. But I think since we, with the lads leaving the Meath panel and everything like that, like the two lads, McMahon and Corey, we know that it probably wasn't all song and dance in the Meath dressing room before the game and at halftime and everything. They have lost some big games in Division 2. They weren't in the promotion mix. And I think if Kildare can give them a good rattle, I wouldn't be surprised if Kildare shade it, but I think it's a real 50-50 game. I really think Louth have some outstanding players, the Tommy Durnans, and if they can get some of their key players back who are missing for the league, like the Sam Mulroys, like the Craig Lennons, like the Conor Grimeses, I don't know all of their fitness statuses, but if they can get them back, then I would make them favourites. But I do think Kildare have a great shot of beating them. And then what a turnaround that would be for them to get into a Leinster final and secure a place in the Sam Maguire. That would be unbelievable. There was also silverware that was dished out this weekend. This game was just summed up by one word: ruthless. Kerry 4-14, Armagh 11 points. Kerry took all of their chances in this Division 1 final, and Armagh missed a ton, especially in the early stages of the second half. They had one cleared off the line. They hit the woodwork, but Kerry were ruthless as hell in this game, and they really put it to bed in the first half. You knew that Armagh had a mountain to climb. Kerry get revenge for round 1 in the LGFA League this season, but also the league final last year, and they have silverware in the bank already.
Yeah, and it's a good sign for Kerry as well, because a bit of an omen. The last county to do the LGFA and men's football double in the league won the All-Ireland, did both subsequently. That was Dublin in 2018.
Very good.
So that's a good sign for a Kerry supporter. I'll put it that way. Not so good sign for me, obviously, but
Cork did it in the hurling and Camogie as well.
They did, but that, so coincidentally, that happened in 2018 as well with Kilkenny and the Camogie hurling, but neither won the All-Ireland afterwards.
Okay.
So, so yeah. So you can see why I'm downbeat about that stat, Séamus, but very good display from Kerry. And Daniel O'Leary, very good, obviously, with 1-5. And Siobhan O'Shea ended up being actually top scorer in the whole Division 1 campaign. She got 3 points this game and chipped it on very well. Niamh Carberty kind of got a fortuitous goal to start off for Kerry, but they kicked on ever since then. Jane Lucy had a very good display with 2 goals as well. Katie Cronin, exceptional from the back line. And what has impressed me about Kerry is when they build up a lead, it was the same in the All-Ireland final last year, you trust their defence to hold out. Katie Cronin, you're not getting past her.
I don't is she already on the Pantheon with the likes of the Breach Stacks and I think she has to be, because I've not seen a fullback like her. She's an absolute rock at the heart of that Kerry defence. And that's a great point that you're saying, is when Kerry build up a lead, you look at their defence and you look at not just Kaylee Cronin, but you look at Eilish Lynch, Ashlyn O'Connell, and you're like, good luck getting through that. Like, good luck getting through that to score what you need to score. And that's why when Armagh missed the chances at the start of the second half, it felt even more significant, because you're like, you're not going to get many of them. So you have to take each one that you get. And the fact that Kerry were so ruthless down the other end, you knew that it was Kerry's day.
Yeah, and they were just ruthless all day. I think it was a 66% shot accuracy, but I think at the time it was about 80, 70% until like when the game was done. So you have to give Kerry a lot of credit for those stats as well. Their kickouts were excellent, their turnovers as well, 20 turnovers to 15. And their scores from play as well. Like, when you consider the scores from play, Armagh got 7 points from play, Kerry got 4-12. Only 2 points from frees, which is absolutely monstrous when you look at the championship later on down the line, and even look at the shooting accuracies of certain players. Jane Lucy, 3 shots converted, all of them. Daniel O'Leary, 10 shots converted, 6, but obviously she has the potential to get better once the championship moves along as well. And what's most impressive as well, and we didn't actually mention this, Louise Never-Hurtig's not there this year, obviously retired.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still putting up these margins. They're still putting up...
gone. Hannah O'Donoghue's gone.
And they're still excelling up front. That's scary for everyone in the country. And yes, granted, Armagh didn't have Amy Mackin on the team, but they still had the likes of Niamh Henderson, Niamh Reel, who's had a brilliant league campaign, Eve Lavery, Caroline O'Hanlon, Lauren McConville, Blahy Mackin. They all were still on the pitch for Armagh, and Kerry still put them away with ease. And this would what is concerning actually from an Armagh point of view. I know the last 2 games against Waterford and Meath probably didn't mean much because they were confirmed with a league final spot, but that's 3 losses in a row for Armagh now.
Yeah,
I think that would be concerning for their management team. For Darrell Parkinson in particular, I do think that is concerning from an Armagh point of view. For Kerry's point of view, though, it's, I don't know. It has the sense that you don't know who's going to stop them, because Armagh were probably the closest team to them. I think the next best team in the league was probably Waterford. Waterford are a good solid team, obviously, and they pushed Kerry all the way in SETU and the Bank Holiday Monday earlier on in the league. But do they have the capabilities to go on and win the All-Ireland? They do have some brilliant players like Lauren McGregor, Brie McMaw, Kellyanne Hogan, but I don't think they have the temperament to go on and win the All-Ireland. Dublin are not what they were. Maybe we'll get on to Galway in a sec. But to be honest, Séamus, I actually don't see anybody that could really challenge Kerry. And I thought at the start of the season, the LGFA Championship would be the most competitive across the 4 codes. Look at that performance yesterday. I might be reading too much into it now, but I don't know who's going to stop this Kerry team, even if Amy Mackin does come back from an Armagh point of view.
If Amy came back, I think it would be a game changer, because I genuinely think she's the best player in the country when she's on top form. I think she's absolutely amazing. But Darnell Parkinson said in the post-match interview, he said a really good quote. He said, look, we're not a bad team overnight. Like, that was just bad day at the office. Kerry are ruthless and we missed our chances. And he put it really well like that. I still think Armagh are the most likely team to beat Kerry this year. I still believe that, which probably doesn't look right considering how they just lost to them. But they beat them, in Kerry in the opening round. They beat them in the league final last year. You play that game again, I don't think it goes quite as badly for Armagh as it did. I think that's just a result where sometimes just weird results happen. Like, when Kilkenny and Tip had the hurling rivalries in the 2000s and then the early 2010s, I could compare it to that, where then when they played the final in 2011 and Kilkenny just swept Tip aside. Like, it's just, sometimes it's just not a team's day and the other team is just on it. Like, so I think that was just what the league final was like from the get-go, and Kerry were ruthless as hell. Brian O'Riordan has a question for us. He says, has your opinions changed as to who will the contenders be? I don't think so. I still think it's going to come from one of Donegal, Galway or Kerry for me for the All-Ireland this season. I think Dublin, Armagh, Tyrone are probably my favourite dark horses. And then the rest, I don't think are going to be in the mix this season. I think Monaghan, probably you can make a case for them as well, actually. Brian says, Ulster, Donegal, Connacht, Galway, Leinster, Dublin, Munster, Kerry. I would agree, I think. Maybe Tyrone or Armagh to take Ulster, but the rest, slam dunk. So moving on to the Division 2 final. Cork 1-5, Galway 2-8 at Croke Park. This one didn't have the same level in the first half that the Kerry Armagh game didn't have the same zip to it. At halftime, it was 1-3 to 3 points in favour of Cork. And you were thinking that maybe Cork, you know, with the heritage that they have of getting over the line in finals in Croke Park, would come to the fore. But in the second half, in the third quarter, Galway hit 2 goals from Lindsay Noon and from Roisin Leonard. And once they did that, they turned the tide and ultimately picked up not the most dramatic of victories. It was kind of known in the last 10 minutes that Galway were going to do it. Cork didn't look like they had much more to throw at them. And then Kate Geraghty up the steps of the Hogan stand to lift the league trophy. And to be honest, when you look at the league, Galway 7 wins out of 7 and winning the league final. Like they slam dunked the whole division.
They did, and I suppose it was a good performance from Galway's standpoint. Obviously, at half-time, it looked very ropey enough for them. 1-3 to 3 points after Katie Quirke's early goal, and you were thinking from a Cork point of view, this could be a good day. If they keep this intensity up, who knows what will happen. But in the second half, every kind of attack Galway just looked so dangerous, and Cork just didn't have any answers, which was unfortunate. There was 2 draining wides as well in the second half from Cork's, and it just had the sense that it just wasn't Cork's day towards the end of it. But from a Cork point of view, like 11 shots in 60 minutes really is not going to win you games. And Galway in comparison, 18 isn't much better, but still, like that was much more than Cork, and you deserve to get over the line in regards to that. But it was kind of puzzling at the end of the first half from Cork. Like Cork turned over the ball, I think it was in the 26th minute, and they held the ball for 4 minutes up until when the hooter went. And you're thinking,
yeah, that was crazy, because I was in the stadium yesterday, and I was down on pitch side for the whole game that day, and I swear, like I kid you not, the whole Cork selectors were shouting like at the players. They were like, "Girls, there's 1 minute left. Like, get on with it. If you attack now, even if we don't score, Galway will not have a chance to attack us back." And they just ran the clock out. And I couldn't really understand that. And I'm not saying that that's the be-all and end-all and that's why they lost. But it was a weird one.
But like, if you put 2 scores between you at half-time, that would have been, I know it might be only a point, but that would have a whole different complexion on the game after that. Mm-hmm. If you went to it. That is interesting what you mentioned about the selectors as well. Like the selectors were clapping, and
the girls on the sideline, like the Meagher Ishka and all, they were like, "Girls, there's a minute left," and then "Girls, there's 40 seconds left. Like, get on with it, attack, just kick it into Katie Quirke and see if she can do something with it, and then even if she can't, the half's up." And they just let Galway off the hook. And look, I'm not saying that they would have scored a goal. It's actually likely that nothing would have come of the attack because it would have been rushed. But if they had managed to work something from that attack and gone in maybe 6 points up at half-time, like, the game then is completely in their hands. I think they felt very in control at the break. Galway came out and just put the burners on them in the third quarter. And you looked at that Galway team and you were like, how on earth did this team ever end up in Division 2? Like, the spine of the Kilkerran Clonberne goes there. Nicola Ward is one of the best players I've ever seen in the LGFA. She's just absolutely amazing. Alva Davern is class. Roisin Leonard is unbelievable. As a free taker as well, she has to be, I think, probably the best in the LGFA. She can take them off the ground. She can take them out of her hands. Like, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I would lean towards Galway as being a serious All-Ireland contender. Look, they were the better team in this final and deserving of getting the win. Moving into the Division 3 and 4 finals, which took place today, we had Cavan beating Wexford by 2 goals and 10 points to 9 points in Drogheda. Both of these games were shown on YouTube. We had Ashton Gilson with 3 points, Lauren McVeety with 1-2, Ellie Brady with 1-1. Cavan picking up silverware against Wexford in Drogheda.
Yeah, very good display from a Cavan point of view. And they did lose to Wexford during the league, but they won every single one of the games. So it was kind of like to get one over on Wexford, and they did. Like, Lauren McVetie's had a brilliant league campaign. She was the top scorer for Cavan going into this game. Across the league campaign, and scored 1-2, probably solidified her dominance on this Cavan team, and she was brilliant throughout the league campaign and today as well. As you mentioned there, Ellie Brady, Ashton Gilson had a good displays as well. And yeah, Wexford just didn't have a main score main scorer like Cavan did. Like, if look at the scores here, Wexford only had, look, I think a plethora of players on one score from play, but other than that, no Wexford player got 2 scores from play or over, which probably just epitomised Cavan were just a better team. And Cavan are making a comeback. There was a time when Cavan, I think their captain actually said during the week that there was a period where Cavan were on the level of Armagh, who were in the Division 1 final on Saturday. So Cavan want to get back up to that stage sooner rather than later. And it will take time, obviously, but now that they have the likes of Ashley Sheridan back, they have Lauren McVeety in form, they have Eddie Brady in form, Ashley Gilson in form, there's positive signs from a Cavan point of view. And going into the Intermediate Championship, they'll be considered, like, you look at the Intermediate Championship this year, there's a good few teams in there that could win the championship outright. You have Tyrone in there, you have Laois would be a bit off, I suppose, but you have Cavan there, Roscommon possibly. You have some decent teams in the intermediate grade. It should be very interesting to see who comes out on top of that. But Cavan, good win for them. It will give them a lot of confidence. And they're on the way back up to the very top, which is good to see.
Certainly. And then, yeah, look, deserving winners. And also during the week, their captain, of course, Shauna Lynch, she was talking about how she never actually won anything with Cavan. And so personally delighted for her and anyone else on that team who has got their hands on some silverware with their county. Then moving to the Division 4 final, Antrim 2-7, Fermanagh 11 points. This game was played at St. Tiernack's Park in Clones. It was an Ulster derby. Antrim came out on top, and again, they slam dunked this division. You had players like Maria O'Neill chipped in with 1-1, Brona Devlin with 4 points, and then the other goal, I have it here on score BO, the other goal came off the bench from Aveen Monaghan. Look, Antrim again, slam dunked the division, 7 wins out of 7, victory in the semi-final over the intermediate champions Leitrim, which in itself is an incredible feat, and then beating Fermanagh again, who were the junior champions last year, in the final. So Antrim couldn't have done Division 4 more impressively.
Yeah, that is a very good win over Fermanagh team. They've won the Junior All-Ireland Championship last season, and we're going to this game with a lot of confidence. But Antrim have now beaten Fermanagh, and they've also beaten a senior team in Leitrim in this Division 4 campaign as well. That's mad that Leitrim can't get out of this division, and it will be very interesting to see how Leitrim get on senior grade this year. But Antrim have a lot of good players. The likes of Brona Devlin, of course, and Marie O'Neill, and Lara Hunsey and Keir Brown are some very good players on this team. And they've had players down through the years that have left the panel for some reason or another, like Gráinne McLaughlin was a brilliant player for Antrim a few years ago. I don't know where she's gone. Is she got travelling, or what's the story there? I think her name is Anya Lynch now, but formerly Anya Tuberty, has come back into the Antrim team, has shown some good form as well. Lara Hunsey herself, I think, has scored 9 goals and 20 points from play in the league, which is ridiculous. Got another point today. So yeah, very good display from Antrim, and throughout the league campaign, they've deserved to win this Division 4 crown, and it will give them a lot of confidence. Again, I think Antrim are an intermediate team this year. I might be sound corrected on that. If they are, give them a lot of confidence moving into the championship.
Certainly. So yeah, massive congratulations to Kerry, to Galway, to Cavan, and to Antrim on their league successes. We're moving on now to the Christy Ring Cup, which launched this year, the 2025's round 1. We had, of course, Wicklow 124, Tyrone 216, and Ockram. Wicklow starting with a win there. London decimating me, 5-18 to 21 points. Would not have seen that coming. And then Donegal gave Derry a lot of problems in Celtic Park, but ultimately came out the wrong side of a 121 to 117 defeat. Your thoughts on the opening round of the Christy Ring?
Yeah, and I think the main result, obviously, is the London result. They lost the Division 3 final. They lost the Division 3 final to Mayo, obviously Mayo, Nicky Rackard team. But to pull up that scoreline in context as everything here, Meath were in the Joe McDonagh Cup last year.
Yeah.
And that was a game where they had to go to Trim away from home. And to score 5-18 and to beat me by 12 points, that's a statement of intent. That's a really, really good performance from London. Like the top scorers on the day, the likes of Jack Morrissey with 2-5, Paul Kennedy got 2 goals. Paul Kennedy's actually from my own county Cork. I think he's from the Black Rock Club down here. So well done to Paul there. And Conor O'Carroll got the other goal. David Devine was one of the top scorers in the Division 3 campaign this year, and he got 7 points. So London are motoring well. I know they lost the final to Mayo, but other than that game, they were probably going towards a slam dunk in Division 3. They probably just had an off day against Mayo. That was a good display from them to get over the line. From Derry's point of view against Donegal, again, Donegal deserve a lot of credit. To lose by 4 points against a Derry team that have the bulk of the Slot Lille boys that played in the All-Ireland semi-final against SARS during the club season. For Donegal to produce performances close as they did to Derry, they deserve a lot of credit for that. But Christy McNaughton, as he has done throughout the league for Derry, came up trumps in this game and got the goal for them. And Wicklow against Tyrone, good. Tyrone obviously got relegated for Division 2, and that is a bad display for them when all things are considered. Two Padraig's, Doyle got 1-7 and Doran got 5 points for flying for the Garden County. A good display from Wicklow. So Wicklow off the mark with a win, but London, what a result.
Yeah, no, London have definitely stuck their hands up as being ones to be considered, because obviously in these competitions you always look at the teams who came down from the level above, and when Meath get relegated from the John McDonough, you are looking at them as being one of the front runners to go right back up. And for London, not only just to beat them, but to beat them away and to beat them like that, scoring 5 goals, is a crazy start to the Christy Ring, and they've put their hands up to be considered as one of the front runners for sure. The Nicky Rackard Cup also kicked off for 2025 this weekend. We had Sligo 20 points, Loud 15 points in Markovich Park, Mayo 121, Roscommon 114 in McHale Park, and then Armagh sneak out of Brewster Park with a win over rivals Fermanagh by 113 to 15 points. Your thoughts on the opening round of the Nicky Rackard?
I think Mayo won the Division 3 title, obviously, against London, and they deserve a lot of credit this weekend for winning the game against Roscommon by 7 points, because Joey Burke actually got a red card after 26 minutes, according to Scorpio. And you would think early on in the game, that is a sucker punch from a Mayo point of view. But they rallied in the second half and they got the win in the end. Cormac Phillips got 1-4 in this one. Shane Boland got 7 points. And Liam Lavins, I don't know, did he score much in this game? But he has been a very good player for Mayo into the Division 3 campaign, a top scorer for playing Division 3. So very good result for Mayo. And they lost the final to Donegal last year, so you'd be looking at them in terms of getting the Nicky Rackard Cup in their locker. Obviously, Sligo beating Low by 20 points to 15. Andy Kilcullen got 10 points for the 8th county, and Paul O'Brien and Thomas Cawley had very good displays with 4 points and 3 points as well. And Sligo, they got relegated for Division 3, and Low got promoted for Division 4, so it was always going to be a very tight game between the two. So Sligo, very good win from their point of view to get on the mark. And as for Armagh, they finished at the bottom half of Division 3. Fermanagh got promoted for Division 4. Again, this was going to be a tight game, and Armagh just ended by a point, obviously. You had Danny McGee with 4 points. The goal coming from Conor Renahan. So very good scoring from him, obviously. And another guy actually from wing-back, Barry Short, he got 4 points. And the other wing-back, actually, Shea Gaffney, got 2 points. So 6 points between their two wing-backs, which is very good from an Armagh point of view. And Fermanagh has sending off through Tom Keenan late on, which probably compelled their day in a way. But good result from an Armagh point of view. But Fermanagh recently got promoted for the Lory Mar after winning the final in Croke Park last year. The fact they only got within a point of Armagh on their first day out back in the Nicky Rackard, that will give them a lot of confidence in a way. I know they lost the game, but context is everything. Recently promoted, that was a good display for them to nearly get a win out of the day against Armagh. But good starts for the likes of Armagh, Sligo and Mayo.
Yeah, no, certainly. Then moving to the Lory Mar Cup 2025's round 1. What we've seen from this weekend is we've kind of seen 2 pots because these next 3 games are very one-sided on the scoreline anyway. Warwickshire 111, Cavan 432 at Portnaharan in Birmingham. Lancashire 16 points, Longford 421 in Abbottstown, and Monaghan 213, Leitrim 9 points in Inniskeen. So big wins for Cavan, for Longford and for Monaghan in round 1.
Yeah, and some very good scores from Cavan point of view. Nicholas Kenny got 1-5, Sean Keating got 1-5 as well. And the top scorer for Division 3 this year, Liam O'Brien, got 9 points. And a bit of trivia, Liam O'Brien, for Cavan's top scorer in this game, is actually from Waterford. I found that out recently as well, looking at the top scorers. So interesting to mention that. Eamon Oak McAllister got 2 goals. and a point for Cavan as well in a dominant display over Warwickshire, and Cavan look to be in a good fettle to go on and win this Lory Cup. Monaghan, good display for them against Leitrim. Obviously, Monaghan is a small county, punch above their weight in football, but good displays from Niall Arthur with 2 points, Niall Garda with 3 points, and then Rowan McMahon and Emmett Walsh with goals for Monaghan, so good win from them. And Longford, Martin Farrell and Michael Mulcahy getting the goals for Longford, so good display from them. So look at the Lory Mars wide open this year, but I think Cavan, look at their scores, the fact they have the likes of Liam O'Brien in their team, Nicholas Kinney, Callus Maher, and Sean Keating, a lot of recognisable names on the scoring stakes. So I think Cavan will be massive favourites, I think, for the Lory Mar this year.
Yeah, Cavan definitely look the business. I mean, they've some serious players in there. And putting up a victory like that away from home in round one, as you mentioned, with the spread of scores that they have, like, they're looking like one of the front runners for sure. So that's the hurling wrapped up, guys. If anybody has any questions about the hurling or anything like that, Liam White here says London not messing around. They certainly aren't. They're looking the business. Brian here asks me a question as a Dub, I'm guessing. Are you worried about Dublin given the away performances in the league and now today? The lack of intensity and not getting to the pitch of it is a concern. We'll expect major improvements as the championship goes on. I'm not too worried, to be honest. We've seen this from Dublin before. Slow kind of build-ups into the latter stages of the championship. Some years we've been caught, and then other years like 2023, we've exploded into life at the quarterfinal stage and gone on to win the All-Ireland. So I think time will tell. That's the honest thing. I know what this group is capable of. I know the players that we have at our disposal, and I'm confident that we still have the ability to win All-Ireland. I wouldn't say we will win it this year, but we will be in the mix. Now, moving on to the final of the 4 codes, Camogie. We had 3 Camogie League finals this weekend, obviously starting with the Division 1A final, where Cork had a very comprehensive victory over Galway, 21 points to 10 in Semple Stadium. Again, I think out of all 4 codes, I've said this before, I'll say it again, Cork, untouchable in Camogie as far as I'm concerned, and we could see a period of dominance here because I don't see anybody near their level, man.
No, I don't either. And yeah, you try to play it down from a Cork point of view and all that, but this was a display full of class. Obviously, 18 points from play, conceding 4 points from play, no point from play conceded in the first half. And another stat as well, Cork didn't concede a goal in the entire league campaign. Meagher Callahan was mentioning that in his Southern Star this week as well, which is crazy.
That is insane. You want to talk about front runners for the All-Ireland? I mean, Cork in the Camogie is... I've never been so confident in an All-Ireland pick.
That's the thing. And the thing is, Galway still had the likes of Dervla Higgins out there. There's still a Carrie Dolan. They still had Niamh Mallon was on the pitch as well. That was a good Galway team out today.
Yeah, they're super guys.
And Ailish O'Reilly was anonymous today, and obviously that's a credit to the Cork full backline. The likes of Libby Copter, Maeve Murphy had a standout game, I thought, today. And that was very good from a Cork point of view. Laura Tracy, Laura Hayes got the Player of the Year last year and carrying on her form to this season. And 72% shot accuracy from Cork point of view as well. The stats keep getting better and better. Mm-hmm. And I think from Ger Manley's point of view, I think the pleasing thing from his point of view actually is the amount of players that they have in contention for starting spots now. Like usually Cork would have like a set starting 15. Okay, Ashley Thompson's playing, Amy O'Connor's playing, Libby Coppinger's playing, Amy Lee's playing. Those are the players, and that would be that. Cork have players on the bench now, or considered bench players over the last few seasons, that now have staked their claim in terms of a starting spot. Clodagh Finn was electric today, and she's been electric in the league and the Ashbourne Cup this season, and has definitely staked her claim in the team. Emma Murphy, 3 points from play. Usually would be considered a bench player, but a very good display from her. Saoirse McCarthy got 3 points from play. Another outstanding display from her. Saoirse McCarthy, 4 points, 3 from play. Amy O'Connor, back from injury, didn't look it. 4 points from 4 points, 2 from play as well. Ashling Thompson, 3 points as well. Like it just looks so good from a Cork point of view, and very good display from each and every one of them. And yeah, they look like front runners for the All Ireland. Then before I switch to you, Séamus, just on my own standpoint, Billy Condon from my own local club, Ballinascarthy, actually got on the score sheet today for Cork in a league final and set up a score for Saoirse McCarthy. So big shout out to her. Very good display from Millie after coming on for a 5-minute cameo. So, and she's another player, a young player coming into the Cork squad as well. There's a bucket load of young players from college level, from under 23 level this season that look in serious battle from a Cork point of view, and that is brilliant to see from Germany's side. And to be honest, Séamus, they look like a serious team, and I don't know who's going to stop them.
But that's it, man. Like, it's like there's a factory line of players, just one after the other, and you're just like, again, quality player after quality player. And you look at the players that didn't even feature, like Laura Hayes on the bench didn't come on, Katrina Mackey on the bench didn't come on. Like, it's crazy the level of squad depth that Cork have. And as I said, I don't see anybody stopping them this year. I thought Galway had a better chance last year. I don't see them having a chance this year. I thought Tip maybe would have been kind of dark horses with Devan not being around anymore. That's, one of the best forwards in Ireland on her day, gone. I don't know if you're going to have enough in the tank to stop this Cork team. For me, the only way Cork get beat is if it's in like a semi-final in like one of the provincial grounds and it's just a crazy game where everything goes against Cork and someone does a smash and grab on them. That's the only way I can see them losing. If they get to the final in Croke Park, good luck. Just wrap the trophy up in red and white ribbons already. Anyway, moving to the Division 2A final, which was on RT at the start of today. Offaly 4-13, Derry 10 points in Semple Stadium. Very, very dominant performance by the faithful. Dominant win.
Yeah, really good display from Offaly. The two teams, Grace got 2-4, Murray's got 2-4 as well. So 4-8 between the two teams, which was very good from an Offaly point of view. Faye Mulrooney with 2 points as well, scored a lot for play in this league campaign moving into this game. Sharon Shanahan also got the score sheet, Fiona Dooley and Christine Cleary. And Sharon Shanahan was actually the full back and the vice captain of the UL Ashburn Cup winning team this year. So Offaly have a lot of talent coming through. We talk about football, men's football and hurling. Offaly Camogie seems to be on an upward trajectory as well, which is a good sign to see. The teens are coming back into form. Mulrooney seems to be going well. Sharon Shannon's an excellent player as well. So Offaly seems to be going on an upward trajectory. Derry, look, it wasn't their day. Second time in a row now they've lost the Division 2A final, which is kind of concerning considering they are a senior side. But I think Anna Geary or Anne-Marie Hayes actually mentioned at the start of the show on RT that I think Derry were missing, 8 of their starting 15 last year, 9 of their starting 15 from last year's Camogie final, which is a big blow to them. And that is a big blow, obviously. But what I will say, Séamus, in terms of the development of these sides and what Anna and Anne-Marie were actually discussing earlier on as well, that the B teams seem to be going now. Like the Corks, the Waterfords, the Galways, the Kilkennys now have an under-23 competition, which is a brilliant kind of thing. And so now you're giving in intermediate and Premier Junior, you're giving the likes of, I know we might talk about Laois in a second, Premier Junior, but in intermediate anyway, you have the likes of the Offaly's, the Meads, the Kerrys. A lot of those counties now get their day out in the sun, which is absolutely brilliant. So just saw I mentioned that, which is absolutely brilliant in terms of the Camogie Championship and great for those counties in terms of promoting Camogie in those counties.
Certainly, because it did used to be gridlocked with the B teams and everything like that. But Liam White says here, Mairead and Grace Tehan had stellar games. Sharon Shanahan had a super game in midfield, as did Orla Phelan and Faye Mulrooney. Then the final game was the Division 3A final. Laois 14 points, Roscommon 1-6 in Kinnegad. It was Susie Delaney and Amy Collier who scored 9 points between them, did most of the damage for Laois, and they win the Division 3A title.
Yeah, good display from Laois. And obviously, they were moving on to my discussion there on the B teams and the A teams and things like that. Laois were in the Premier Junior final against the Tipperary B team last year and lost narrowly in Croke Park. They'd be the favourites for the Premier Junior Championship. I talked about the UL Ashburn Cup winning team. Susie Delaney was a squad member on that team. She scored 5 points from playing this game. I think that takes a total to 3 goals and 22 points in Division 3A for all from play in this league campaign, which is a lot in fairness. Amy Collier obviously has been a good scorer for Laois down through the years as well. So very good display from all of them in Laois and a good thing to get a league in their back pocket, obviously. But for Roscommon, for a county that's not steeped in Camogie history to get to the final in the first place is a good achievement for them, and they should be very proud with the likes of Sarah Dooley and Orla Conley, who scored well for them. But it's Isha's day, very good display for them. They'll be one of the front runners for the Premier Junior Championship this year.
Yeah, they certainly will. And that brings us to an end of another weekend review show here on Cluiche. My name is Séamus Brady. I was joined for this episode by Matthew Hurley. Guys, you smashed it with the comments this week. Absolutely loved it. Made the episode really, really enjoyable. Jack Nulty throws one in here. He says Donegal up there, but Brian would say Kerry up there with them, just in my opinion. As Brian says, Donegal are the favourites and Cork in the hurling. Big shout out, of course, to Brian O'Riordan, to Gavin O'Reilly, to NIRB, to Garrett O'Grecon, to Cormac Nugent, to Liam White, to Zio Zakul from Mexico, all the way from Mexico. Who would have thought? And I believe that's it. Jack Nulty as well. Big shout to you as well, my man. Thanks so much to everybody dropping a comment in. That made the episode really enjoyable. Thanks to Matthew again for jumping on for another show. That has been this weekend's review show wrapped up. Until the next one, we'll be back here next Sunday. Same time, same place. You know the deal. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you all then.